and welcome to the back porch. As you may know, one of the reasons we have this format is oftentimes the best time to catch TA and get his thoughts on the business and life is when he's outside with a cigar and maybe a glass of whiskey. So here we are on our virtual back porch. And I wanted to welcome Tomm Gillies, who's our special guest today. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So today we want to talk about how we can improve the virtual experience for presenters and producers. And I think most virtual events, they primarily focus on the attendee experience, which is very important. But here at Alford, we wanted to talk more about how the clients and presenters are affected by virtual experiences and how we can best make the event go smoothly for them. So one of the things we try to do, removing any stress. We're going to talk about some of our robust comms and then just give that person, your presenters, an extra level of comfort and control. So Tomm, do you have anything you want to tell us about?
Well, yeah, I mean, we always at Alford, we want to be well prepared and do everything we can to make life easier for our clients, which are sometimes they're in clients, but most often they're producers and the people that are the in-between. And we live in a stressful world, and so we're pretty good at that, I think, in the ballroom. And now I think we're getting pretty good at it here in this virtual environment. And so there's, like you said, having the right gear there, the right personnel, that's always the greatest way to prevent too much stress. But it's also, good rehearsals, knowing that they're just as important in the virtual world, even more important, we all believe, than they are in the live environment in a ballroom. Having, as I said, the proper people in place, there are some new positions and everything like that that are extremely important. And then one of the main items is pre-recording things. If you're on a virtual event, nobody knows, to be honest, if it's necessarily live. They're looking at a small screen. They're not in the ballroom. And when I've been selling to people this year or talking to people, about is it Zoom or is it a different platform, I always tell them that the difference is if you're not doing Zoom, you need to do, as we mentioned earlier, a TV show. If they want to know the difference, I always tell them, go on TV and watch a well-done newscast, watch something like that, and that's what you want to do. And to do that, a lot of times, pre-recording it. You can go in there, make sure everything's proper, make sure there's no mistakes. If there are mistakes, you can edit them. And of course, sometimes you catch mistakes can be something that's great to include that they didn't intend to, but they're funny or they're informative. So those are all things we do that we think can, or we want people to do, I guess I should say, that we think can really help make a much less stressful and better live event.
Yes, definitely. And Tomm, I know you're very passionate about this subject, so tell me what you think about pre-recording events.
Well, having worked in the film and television industry, as well as live events and rock and roll theater, et cetera, they've been doing that for years. Hey, that one didn't go so well. Let's try it again. And so it allows the clients to really craft their message for their attendees. It allows them to get the best version of what the message is. It also allows for extra creativity that you don't have in a live event. When you might go through a rehearsal, you might come up with some ideas, but sometimes when the person is actually presenting, an idea might come up. Well, if you're pre-recording, and you go, hang on, I got an idea. Stop recording. Work out the idea. Bam, now you got this whole
let's
added
do this
element,
new way.
right?
Yeah.
That you don't have that opportunity on a live event to do that always. Sometimes that does happen; they throw stuff at us last minute, but I do think that's important. It also allows the presenters that are not familiar with, doing a TV show, opportunity to get more comfortable, opportunity to really relax and ease into it, and then give their best performance.
Definitely. I think one of the best things is when you're watching an event online and perhaps you're at a moderated panel like this, and then you can throw to a video and your brain can, section off that learning in that one time period. So you have this content and then oh, there was the video after that. So it kind of can introduce new content. It's the break that you need to absorb everything that's happening in the meetings. All right, our next topic is remote presenter kits. We think that they are vitally important for your event. It gives your presenters a professional look and professional sound that they would not otherwise have from wherever they are. It's really easy to set up. It has some LED lights, a camera, a microphone, and it really is plug and play. Our digital ASM will walk your presenter through everything they need to know to help them be in the frame, be set up correctly. And also, the best part is you can pre-record.
And I know Mr. Gillies here has actually used them in some robust ways and regular ways with clients. So what's been your experience out there, Tom?
It adds that extra step, extra level of professionalism to the outcome. You know, to what the product you're putting out there. I did a show where they sent out a presenter kit to all of our presenters were remote, but they sent out a green screen, you know, a little stand-up thing, real easy to do, a couple of LED lights, and a microphone, all set up, and a good camera, and then walked them through how to use it. Sent them all backgrounds that were branded for the show. And actually did, in certain cases, branded it when they had two presenters, that they had a background that was similar to each other but not identical. And just those extra little ads that make it more professional versus, oh yes, we're all just having a Zoom meeting, and oh, the dog's in the background, and oh, there's this. You know, it's just the next step up, and that's, I think, helps our clients, again, put their best foot forward and get their message out there in multiple ways.
And I think we've all been on that meeting where the presenter was in front of the world's brightest window.
Yeah.
And so, and it looking like a angel wasn't that great, or they were in the dungeon and they were black. And you avoid all of that with a good remote presenter kit.
Well, that and
Catch it ahead of time.
especially during the past year, working with people where your presenters are literally all over the world. Right. So it is the middle of the night for one of your presenters. It's the early morning, sunrise, or middle of the day. And so you've got all these different lighting conditions just from the sun. If they've got a window open, your digital, your remote presenter kit provides continuity for your look of all your presenters. So it really, and again, adds that extra professional level.
The remote presenter management in our virtual green rooms are even just as important. As always, it revolves around people. So with that, we have a really easy system to bring people in, bring those remote presenters into the ballroom or into the virtual event, and keep the presenters connected with the crew and the event. It gives really easy process for presenting and having dedicated support for those presenters. It includes adjusting their settings, their lights, the cameras, the audio, make sure everything looks good, making sure they're in a great place and that they're ready to present, that they're on time, and they know when things are happening. And that position is called our digital ASM. And what we're going to do now is hear from one of those, Mr. Jay Rodriguez.
Hello, my name is Jay Rodriguez. I work with remote presenters to ensure that they are ready to go from a presentation and technical standpoint. I accomplish this by welcoming the remote presenters into our platform, working with the video TDs for the live stream to ensure that their camera shots are set up correctly, that the lighting is best that it can be, and also working with audio and comms engineers to ensure that their microphone is operating correctly and that they have quality sound. I communicate to remote presenters just as a stage manager would communicate to a presenter prior to them hitting the stage, including relaying specific messages from producers, as well as giving them countdowns to when they're going live. The best part of my role is that I get to help speakers and presenters look and sound their best, and I feel that it makes a huge difference in the level of quality in virtual meetings.
Thank you so much, Jay. That was some great information. Another area that's really important to good virtual meetings or remote meetings is a really robust comm system and multi-view type system. And I think a lot of people that are used to in ballroom shows aren't aware that today with digital comms, the presenters, the show caller, the producers, they can be in cities all over the United States and all over the world, and they can have comms just as if we were in a room all together as we're used to. And thank God for those digital systems, because it really keeps everybody connected. And it's something I think a lot of people that we worked with this year have been surprised we could do. And we've had, I know one event we had over, I think 80 something people on comms, and they could send them out into groups, et cetera. And it was just, an outstanding event. And in multi-views, again, since people aren't in the room, they don't get to see, being able to send out a multi-view remotely to whoever needs one, where they can see not only what's going out of the program, but can see what's going on here, and they feel like they're truly part of that event. Is just can be really critical and makes everybody truly a team. And we give the clients that full control of what they want to show remote in the multi-view or remotely, et cetera, and just really does a great job of keeping the crew and the client connected in with that event. And I know Tomm Gillies, again, has done several shows for us and others in this environment. So what's been your experience?
Well, I think, what you were saying about it, allows the clients, producers, et cetera, to be anywhere and still be on comm, that we can send out that multi-view, which, and I think really what it's done is allowed the clients and the producers to kind of get a peek behind the curtain at what we do, even more so than they might have even wanted or expected. But because they're not in the room, we're not all in the same room, we don't have a stage, we don't have an audience, and it's really, really important. And going back to what we were talking about before with, we're not doing a live event that we're streaming, we're doing a TV show. And so it's an opportunity to kind of teach them to look, it's really only important what's in that box. But now we can show them with the multi-view, and these are all the boxes of all the different things that eventually will end up in this box. But this box is the important one. And we did a show here last fall where producer was in New Jersey, streaming guy was in Austin, Texas. Translation, which we had 14 translators on the show, we're all in LA, and our client was in France, and we were running the show out to APAC, EMEA, US on different schedules and turn things around, and our hosts were coming in from different places, and we were able to show the client in France what our multi-view looked like, what was going out. And we even had a spy cam of the control room and kind of really give them that shot behind where they did, after we went through a quick rehearsal, they said, wow, that was really professional. That was wonderful. We don't have any notes. That was great. And they loved the fact that they could see the control room and watch what was happening, in one way, watch their money get spent.
Right. Yeah.
But see the result of that and go, so that's what they do, kind of hopefully it didn't take away the magic of it, but I think it helped them understand what goes into putting these things together.
Yeah, and as a guy that's, been in the rental business all of his life, having a client that didn't have questions and is happy, doesn't get any better than that.
Right. Yeah.
That's what we all live for.
All right, the next topic we would like to talk about is rehearsals, both in studio and remote. And I think if there's one thing we can all agree on, it's the importance of rehearsals. They really are the key to success for any online event, studio event, remote event, live event. And our rehearsals in studio works much like in-person events. You get to walk through your presentation, you see your graphics, you see the video, and it just makes everyone feel more comfortable with how the flow of your show is going to do.
And we've stressed this for decades. Please come to rehearsal. It's so, and sometimes I think clients, they think, oh, I don't need to rehearse, and we sometimes remind the rehearsal isn't for you. It's really for the crew to understand what it is that they're trying to do, so we can give them the best support, so they can put their best foot forward and present the material in the best way. But in addition to that, I think, as important as they are for live events, they're 100%, 1,000% more important for virtual. And I think one of the things we did on a recent virtual event, but we did it in a ballroom, built a studio, had 3 cameras, the jib, et cetera. We brought the presenters in for a little bit to just kind of get comfortable with the setup, see their material, see the stage, see their all that stuff, and just kind of go through a little bit. But it really wasn't a rehearsal for them. It was more of just a kind of introduction. And then we brought them back for a rehearsal. And I think the presentations on that went so much better because they had those opportunities that we don't always get on a live event. And you were talking about with the remote presenters and the digital ASM, on a TV news broadcast, you'd have an ENG crew with a producer going out there to set up lights, cameras, et cetera, et cetera. And now we've got a person with their laptop, and the digital ASM really is that on-site producer,
Yep.
making sure that they look their best, looking for any technical issues that might crop up so the presenter can focus on presenting and getting their message across. And I think they are, they're key. We did one recently here where we ended up having to have two because at one point we had 8 remote people all having a discussion. And then right after that, we had 10
Right.
immediately afterward, going into another panel discussion, and everybody was remote. And so that the person in that seat or the people in that seat, they are so key to giving that seamless, professional, helping the presenters relax, but look their best to present their material in the best way possible.
Been doing this a long time myself, and as you were talking, I was thinking, there's a few of those things that just makes your skin crawl, and you're going to have a problem. One is when the client says, "Don't worry about the budget." It's not a problem. You pretty much know that you now have a major problem, more than likely when it's over. And then the other one is when the presenter says, and again, sometimes it's not a problem. I've had people just whatever I charge them, but it's not often. And by the same token, somebody that comes in and says, "Don't worry about it, I got it. Don't need a rehearsal, I've got this under control." At that point, you pretty much know this is not going to go well. And again, there are certain presenters that are just so magnificent, it does. But most executives, myself and others included, that's not true. And so when they come in and say that, their look's going to be terrible, they're not going to be centered on the shot, and they're going to say, and all kind of other things 20 times, and you're just like, oh God, if you just had a rehearsal.
Yep.
And so
Well, it's the same concept as the person who jumps up on stage and goes, "Oh no, I don't need a mic.
yeah.
I'm good." And you've got an audience of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
As Rachel said when we started this little segment, I think there's one thing we can all extremely agree on, and that is rehearsals are really important. It's important in live shows when we're in the ballroom, and it's, in my opinion, to a magnitude more when you're in a show that is going to the small screen. Like Tom says, it's a TV show is what you're doing, and you're trying to hold people's interest. You're trying to keep them glued to that little screen. The importance just can't be overstated. So all of you, those of you out there listening, when we get to that next show, set up some time for rehearsal. Do it for the crew, do it for your client, and do it for the person the people that are out there watching, so they have a better experience.
It is, the ROI on rehearsal is through the roof.
It's great.
It's interesting you bring up that orientation session, that very first time. I know being a first-time presenter, it's nerve-wracking. And here, I know where the studio is. I know where the control room is. I know where the alternate control room is.
Well, and I do think, in that particular case, because we've worked with that client numerous times on their live event, and they, this was so new that, and they do like to be heavily involved in their show, but this was so new to them that when we stepped in and said, "No, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that," that they were able to kind of go, "Well, I think they've got this." And they relaxed.
Yeah.
Right.
And that then allowed them to be at their best when they presented, because they felt like they were in good hands. They felt like, I don't have to worry about this, or this. I mean, even to the point of which camera am I looking at? Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we've got you covered.
No, we just said, "Look, this is your home. Yeah. This is where you're going. We're going to capture you just give your message. You just talk." Yeah. The hard part for them, I think, was that they're used to that that feedback from the audience that you don't get in a studio environment. And that, I think, is probably one of the harder things for especially execs that are not used to presenting on stage or any other way. They are, if they've done it a few times, they are used to getting that audience feedback, and now it's not there. So having that extra rehearsal time allows them to get comfortable with that environment of, oh, I'm not going to hear applause, I'm not going to hear laughter, I'm not going to hear anything.
Right. Yeah, that audience feedback is so important.
Yep. And the energy that you get from people in the room, which is why we all really miss live events and can't wait for them to come back. We are going to start heading back to live events, but this virtual stuff that we've all gotten so much better at, I think our clients are enjoying it, and I think that they are going to want to continue to see it. I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. You know, as we are transitioning back to live events, we're starting to book some, and we're super excited about it. But we're finding most of them, they're going to be what currently is being referred to as virtual events. And the good thing is that brings that live studio audience, like you always hear when you're watching a sitcom on TV, you know, said brought to you in front of a live studio audience. They do that for the energy, and it's going to bring that energy back to these virtual events. And I think that they'll start happening. I know they're happening because we're working on some of them very soon. So we'll have that audience out there, whether it's in a theater such as this or in a ballroom. And I think we'll have some that have 1,000 people in the audience. Some of them will have 10. But the virtual component, the sending it out, which was occasionally this time last year, will basically be constant. Probably be forever, but definitely for the next year or so. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I, for one, am excited to get back in the ballroom, but I'm excited to do a great job for clients, whether it's strictly virtual in a studio, remotely, or in a ballroom near you soon. What do you think, Rachel?
I think that's the end. I want to thank everyone for joining us today on this edition of The Back Porch, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.